just switching it up a bit. I actually saw on your Facebook feed like a little while ago. It might even been a couple days ago, maybe longer. But it's actually about because I remember you and Jon Jones kind of went back a little, like back and forth a little bit with the whole grappling match
Yep.
that you guys were supposed to do. Is that ever gonna happen, or is that still in the works, or what? What exactly? Could you give us a backstory on that as well?
Well, I would love for that to happen. So what happened is, Jon Jones is doing a Twitter Q&A, like basically just, send me questions and I'll answer, or something on that line. And someone said to him, you should, if you're gonna call someone out, who would you call out? And so he's like, oh, I'll call it Lauzon, I'll beat him in a grapple match, with my hands tied. And I'm like, all right, I accept your, so he's just kidding, you know what I mean? I know Jon Jones because, he's from upstate New York. He trained at a gym called the Bomb Squad near Ithaca, and so he had a lot of his early fights here in Massachusetts. So he was on same cards where I had guys fighting. Or I think, yeah, I don't know if we fought on the same cards. I don't think we fought on the same cards early on, but he had a lot of his early fights around here. So I knew all of his coaches and blah blah blah. So when I see him at fights, I always say hi or whatever, and so always just friendly back and forth. It's fine. And then, so he called me out. It's just kind of just like a friendly call out. It's all fine, you know what I mean? Like, but of course I have to give him shit back. I can't just take it. So I'm like, all right, I accept your match. And like he was talking about, I'm sure he was talking like in a no-gi grappling match. And I'm like, all right, I accept your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu match in the gi, just because knowing that if he's gonna have his hands tied, I'm gonna take that advantage, or I'm gonna be able to grab on his collars and sleeves and everything else. So, and he's just so big and strong. Like it's going to be pretty tough for me to arm lock or Kimura or something like that, but I could definitely catch some kind of collar choke. And so we kind of just like going back and forth, and then I started hashtagging just do it to him and all this other stuff. So like I would have a lot of fun, but honestly it's like the worst thing he could do, because I think that even straight up grappling, if we grapple, like if there was like a time limit, it might be tough. But if we just grapple until one to submit each other, he is not going to submit me, but I will submit him. Like I'm too squirmy. I think I've way too much grappling experience where he's got great wrestling, but his jiu-jitsu I'm sure is not to the same level as everything else. Kickboxing, he would take my lunch money and destroy me. It wouldn't even be close. It would be like fighting like a kindergarten kid. But grappling, going to submission, I definitely think I would beat him. His hands tied is like, that's a no-brainer. And in the gi, it's even worse. So, like I would love for it to happen, but just because I think it would be fun to do. But for him, it'd be terrible. It'd be terrible for sponsors. It'd be terrible for the UFC. It'd be terrible. They have he's like one of their marquee champions, and Nike's is like a huge sponsor of his, and he's like one of their big athletes. And to go and have them lose to a guy that he's got 40 pounds on, 50 pounds on is not good for his image. It's not good. So I don't think it will happen. But it was kind of fun just to kind of play around with the idea.
Yeah. So there's no like plans, or nobody's actually trying to get that going, I guess.
I don't think so. Probably not. Honestly, it would be tough because it would have to coincide with like a good time for me, a good time for him, whatever else I had going on outside the cage, whatever he had going on. Like it would be a pretty rare case where it would all work out. And honestly, it wouldn't, like we could do it and have fun with it, and it wouldn't be a big deal, and like I wouldn't care and he wouldn't care. If he submits me, I wouldn't be upset. But if I submit him, he probably wouldn't be upset himself, but he's going to catch so much shit from people like, oh, you lost to so-and-so. Like, hate on Twitter and stuff like that is already ridiculous enough.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Never mind people that don't know what's going on and things like that. So I don't know. I don't think it'll happen. I wouldn't hold my breath for it.
Well, you guys remember on Tough when he got submitted by one of the contestants. You guys remember that? Got guillotined?
Yeah, and I'm sure you put all kinds of shit about that.
Yeah.
Forever. It's like it's dumb, and it's like it's training. It's like who cares? You know what I mean? Like I tell my guys all the time in the gym. I got a kid that's gonna be really good. This kid Randy Costa, and he just had his first amateur fight, and and his jiu-jitsu's not the best, but he's working on it. Every day he's in there, he's working on it, he's getting better. He's got good wrestling, really good stand-up, but his jiu-jitsu is definitely like the lacking part of his game. And I'm like, dude, no one cares if on fight night you smash someone, no one's going to care when you smash someone that you got submitted by guillotines or this or that 8,000 times in the gym. They don't care. It only matters about like what's going on. But now like all the social media stuff and behind the scenes and stuff like that, like it sucks because people see something in the gym, they don't realize that Jon Jones probably gets tapped out all the time in the gym. But because they don't see it, they think it doesn't happen. So then when they do see it happen, like, oh my God, it's such a big deal. I can't believe this happened. It's kind of stupid.
So going to the grappling matches and stuff, everyone here knows about you and Nick the Tooth. the 3 minute grappling match in an octagon, and you made like 6K. Was it 6K? 6,000
Yes.
bucks? Yeah. So for those who don't know, so I guess the rule was every time he submitted Nick the Tooth, he'd get $1,000, and in a 3 minute time, and he got 6 submissions on him. And Dana White was there, and it was funny. Like you can catch it on YouTube. Just Google it. And anyway, were you not worried about him catching you at all? Like, is he like, you know what I mean? Like this was like this was recorded, right? Like,
So you saw like what the camera saw. Okay, this is
Yeah.
my perspective. The whole thing. Like,
Excellent.
we're out in Seattle because Joe Proctor is one of my guys. He's fighting, and so he's fighting on the card. So I'm out there. So I was out with him the entire week. I'm 100% about Proctor. I'm helping him like train each day and just like kind of roll nice and slow and not a big deal. So this is like right before I fought Jim Miller, and honestly, I sprained my knee like a week before, right? So this kind of all worked out good because my knee was a little sore. I didn't want to, like, I was rolling with Proctor, but Proctor's like, he's like a good safe training partner. I was being careful with my knee, but like this is kind of good because I had that whole week where I wasn't training super hard, but I was still getting some light work in, and I was getting ready. So I go to bed, I wake up, and my boxing coach Steve Mays, he ends up hanging out with Dana a lot of times at the fights, and you know they're buddies. And Nick the Tooth was out there, and Nick the Tooth is getting a little drunk, drinking a little too much, and he sees that Steve Mays, my boxing coach, is wearing a Lauzon shirt. I'm like, oh, Nick's is just mindlessly like talking shit. So Mays starts kind of giving him crap back and forth, whatever, and somehow they come to terms that okay, I'm gonna grapple with Nick the Tooth the next day. So when I wake up, I have no idea what's going on. Mays is like, oh, you want to make some money today? I'm like, what are you talking about? And then he tells me that, I'm going to have a grappling match with Nick the Tooth, who I met, but I didn't know anything about him. I knew zero about Nick. I knew like he's built like a gorilla. He's really strong. But that was all I knew about him. And okay, you're going to have a grappling match, and for each submission you get, you're going to get $1,000. And I'm like, ugh, I kind of like, I'm thinking about my knee the entire time. I'm like, I'm supposed to fight like 3 weeks later. I'm like, I really don't want to hurt my knee now and then not be able to fight. But if I'm gonna get hurt doing something, it should be something for Dana. You know what I mean? He can't get mad. So, like, oh, it's gonna be in the octagon. It's before the fight. They got some new. Right before they were using the Phantom Cam all the time, which is like that super slow motion camera. And like, honestly, like they want to use it because they want to test out the Phantom Cam before the show tonight. I'm like, all right, like, well, I gotta do what the boss wants. So, but once I tied up with him, I knew he was dead. Like I had, I could just tell. Like I'm not a Hulk, but I'm kind of small, but I'm pretty freaking strong for my size. And Nick is pretty strong, but I was still much stronger than him. So he was saying after the fact, like, oh, I was amazed at how strong he was and this and that, But like pretty much everyone that's fighting the UFC is gonna be strong like that. Like I'm not super strong for the UFC. I'm stronger than your average grappler, your average guy. So it was kind of, but like I said, once I tied up with him the first time, I knew I had his number. I was hitting everything. I hit a flying leg lock. I think I hit a flying arm lock. I hit a couple arm locks of mount. I hit a 10-finger guillotine. Like pretty much anything you want. I wish I had a little more time because I probably could have. I wanted to get to 10. I wanted to get to 10 in 5 minutes, and then they changed it to 3 minutes, so I only got to 6. I was right on track for it though.
That was awesome because at the end of that, so Nick the Tooth was bleeding, and then Dana's like, "Are you bleeding? Are you kidding me? Like how? Why are you bleeding from a jiu-jitsu match? Just flaming the guy." And then I don't know, like some of it maybe is camera work or whatever, but then they show him in the back throwing up and.
Oh, I'm sure that was real. So like Nick is like, so that's what he does. He gets a little drunk, and then he just acts like an asshole. So they were all about getting payback. So he was absolutely puking, and like it was a good time. I felt really bad because I made $6,000 to grapple with Nick, which I didn't train for it at all. I just kind of showed up, and it just kind of was dropped on me, so it worked out well. And then Proctor made $8,000, and he did like a full fight camp because he fought. He was on the tough contract, so tough contract usually 8-8 for the first year. So he fought really hard. He lost his fight. So I ended up like, all right, you know what? I'm gonna pay for my flight out here. I'm gonna pay for all that stuff because he would normally pay for that stuff. So I ended up paying for all that stuff. So it was good because I got to save Proctor a little bit of money. I think I tossed Proctor like $1,000 out of it too because I felt bad.
Oh, bad.
It was it was a good time. I wish I could do that every weekend. Like I will follow the UFC around doing a grappling match with Nick the Tooth every weekend.